Welcome to PA Academy. So in this video, we are going to be looking at Newton-Raphson iteration involving two variables. Alright, so in the previous video, we've looked at the one-of-one variable. So if you missed that, kindly watch the video before this, and you can see these are some of the examples we looked at when looking at Newton-Raphson iteration involving one variable. So now let's look at what if you have two variables. Alright. So now to get started, and by the way, if you missed the previous parts, okay, so just watch the video before this. All right, and do make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you can get all the videos updates as I release them. All right, so you need to take note of this. So now let me give you the general representation to get your x and your y. All right, because now we are dealing with two variables, right? That means we are having x and y. In the one variable we are dealing with, maybe it might be x, it might be y, or just one variable, but now we are dealing with two variables. There are also three variables. Okay, I'm still going to mention it briefly in the course of this video. All right, so I'm going ahead to write out the general formula or representation for the Newton-Raphson iteration involving two variables. All right, so like I explained earlier, the two variables, for example, with this analysis is we are going to be having x and we are going to be having y. All right, so to get the x, this is what you are going to apply. So you can see this is that for x. So I had to put that of y side by side so that you can notice the difference. Okay, so if you take a look, we are having minus f of x and y, and then right here we have the f prime of y. Okay, so that means you are going to differentiate the f function with respect to y. Okay, so we are still going to look at an example and you're going to understand each and everything that is here. But what I'll just say is when you are working with this, you need to be very careful with your calculations and the parameters, okay, so that you don't mix them up in terms of, for example, there's a negative here, there's a negative here. I'm just highlighting some of the mistakes that you are more likely to make. You can see there's a negative here, so you need to take note of when putting in all of these values. All right, so with that, this is for the two variables. So let me go ahead and write out for three variables. So if you are dealing with three variables now, most times the three variables is always x, y, and z. Okay, so let me go ahead and write that out for you also. So if you want to write this out, you can just pause the video and write it out so that I can just write out the three variables. So here is the representation for the three variables. So if you look at it here, like I said, we are going to be having a variable involving x, y, and z. All right, so unlike in the two variables like I mentioned earlier, you're going to be calculating for x, you're going to be calculating for y. All right, so you can see it here. You calculate for x, you calculate for y. This is what you're going to use for y. Now for the three variables, you're also going to calculate for x, y, and z. All right, and in this you're going to be having three equations like this. So for the x, this is what you are going to be using for the x. All right, so you can see it here. For you want to get that of y value, this is what you are going to use for the y. So you might need to just pause the video and take down some of these equations right here. And then if you want to do for z, this is what you are going to use. So take note, if you are seeing this like this f prime, that means if you differentiate, for example, f prime, you are still going to see it in the next video when we start looking at the example f prime of y. That means you are going to have f of y, and then you are going to differentiate the what is f of y, and that will give you the f prime of y. Okay, so basically this is more like an introduction to that of two variables. It explains everything, but then if you want to have proper understanding, you have to see an example. So in the next video, we are going to be looking at one example that we're going to be using to explain everything that has to do with Newton-Raphson iteration involving two variables. All right, so to make sure you don't miss that video, the video will come next after this. Do make sure you also subscribe to the channel. All right, so thank you very much. My name is Prosper, and I'll be seeing you all in the next part of this video.